Hi, good morning, everyone. This is David Slent, Solutions Engineer with ARALOC and Data 443. Just want to thank you all for joining us today in our discussion here about the ARALOC boardroom system and how that can help your organization to distribute content to your board members and any other members of your team in general, securely delivering content based on access and their group rights within the organization. So just going to give a quick rundown here of key features and specifications on the ARALOC system itself, and then give a quick overview demo on the iOS platform. We are also taking comments here or questions through the chat feature. If you'd like to place a question with us, we can take care of that for you as well at the end. So when we talk about ARALOC, it's fully cloud-based enterprise-class software. Secure mobile content management platform that's going to allow you to distribute that content to any of your employees across any devices, whether they're company-owned or in a BYOD situation where that device is owned by the employee. You'll have full control of that content and delivery mechanism to your employees and or outside members of your organization that aren't employees, but are crucial to decision-making processes within inside their organization. So we'll touch on that cloud-based a little bit, fully hosted in Microsoft Azure. So we're leveraging the power of the Microsoft Azure system, SOC 1 and SOC 2 certified. We're able to upscale and deploy anywhere in the world as it fits the needs of your organization, scale up, scale down, et cetera, at any time. And with that, we're bringing in a quick deployment for your organization. We're able to get you up and running with no internal IT resources required at all. Although we do welcome IT teams to discuss implementation or be involved, they're not necessarily required here to get the system up and running for your organization. Scalable hosting, which we spoke about. So we're able to increase your hosting as necessary, storage space, etc. Full redundancy across any locations within the Microsoft Azure system. And then automatic software updates. So we're able to push out new apps to your team members automatically, whether that be PC, Mac, iOS, or Android. And a little bit about that enterprise class. This ARALOC system is going to be able to fully support your entire organization, not just your board team, but any of your employees within the organization can use ARALOC to access content that's necessary for their specific job and their role inside your organization. And so ARALOC has been designed with multi-group support. So as we talked about, you could have groups for your board of directors. You could have a group for your executive staff, your director level staff, your line staff, etc. All of them having access to different types of content that's necessary for them to complete their roles within your organization. All ARALOC apps can be custom configured and branded. So we're able to build native applications to meet the specifications of your organization. Full search and filter capabilities within the applications on those documents, and the ability for archival content support in the case you wanted to provide previous documentation to specific employees. And then the ability for robust reporting and analytics. We're able to provide user details, content details, down to the device type used to access that content, viewing period, and IP address. And then, of course, API support for integration with your current systems, allowing for automated user creation, content posting, access removal, etc. All of those types of features that are necessary to provide automated support for ARALOC. And so we come to the security piece of ARALOC, and ARALOC's a leader in content distribution and security, utilizing 256-bit AES encryption both at transit and at rest. And together with the DRM controls, the rights management the ability to stop copying or forwarding or sharing of those documents in any way, really allows you to control that content and get it into the hands of people within your organization or outside, but not give them control of those specific documents. So they're not able to make derivative works or copy it or forward it to send it on to anyone else outside of that access. And the ability to remotely wipe that device at any time. If you have a lost device or any kind of breach there, you can remotely deny access to that content immediately through the administrative console. And role-based administration access allows you to have different levels of rights for your administrators. Some could have full access to the systems. Some administrators could just be set up to reset passwords from a service desk perspective, or add users, et cetera. Any type of configuration can be handled there. And then device level security controls. And what we talk about there is basically password timeout, password complexity, days of offline viewing, et cetera. So you're able to control those from an organizational level, what kind of device level security you'd like to see there. So some of the system highlights of ARALOC, again, it's cross-platform. We're featuring iOS, Windows, Mac, and Android applications that are available to be custom configured, or through a standard edition application as well, found in the App Store. A little bit of a differentiator here for ARALOC from other board systems is that we support PDF Office, but also audio, video, and HTML5. So any of those board meetings that have been recorded can then be distributed here through ARALOC to board members that could not attend possibly, or for any other reason for review. Surveys can be tied to any piece of content. As far as before or after viewing of that content, you can get some feedback from your employees there. And then as far as collaboration, annotations, and notes can be added right on top of any document, and then they can be shared with other individuals within the organization as necessary. And in-app notifications are keeping users up to date on their access to new content. Anything that the administrator wants to push out as far as an announcement is concerned, those types of things can be done through the application. And we touched on offline secure viewing. So you can configure the app to allow for offline viewing. This is beneficial in a travel situation or anywhere in a distributed workforce where access to the internet may be limited. And ARALOC's bringing mobile controlled board communications as well. And what that includes is in-app, basically instant messaging, a little bit different than text messaging because this is all inside the application, fully secured, and allowing users to communicate amongst one another or in a chat environment, again, fully secured inside that app. And then electronic signatures with automated reminders and reporting for any documentation that needs to be signed off on. You can do that here with ARALOC and also include versioning control as well. Anytime a new document is pushed out, that user would be notified that their signature is now required once again. And so as we move along here, this is a little diagram or outline of how that content would be distributed. And so the content would be created on your local device or within your organization. ARALOC is not used to create content, so you're bringing your content with you here to ARALOC. We're going to use a small application that runs on the local device to publish that content. And what that application does is it wraps it in a fully encrypted state and adds that DRM rights layer to it. And so once that's completed, that content is fully encrypted, and only then after that is it passed up to the ARALOC cloud. And a little bit of a differentiator here for ARALOC as well is that we can host content in any location. So you can have that on a corporate portal, web dev server, inside or outside of the corporate firewall. So you have the ability to host your content in any location. And once it's hosted, you're going to be able to control who sees that through that group rights or through individual rights, and you're going to then control that through the management console specifically. Then users will have their authentication credentials and log in onto the app of their choice, whether it be iOS, Android, Windows, or Mac, and view that content. So that's a quick rundown and overview of the ARALOC system from a high level. We're going to jump into the demonstration on the iOS side real quick. So just bear with me while I get this next screen transitioned over to the iPad app itself. Okay, so you should now see the iOS application here on the screen. Apologize for that slight delay. And what we have here is the standard edition application of ARALOC. Essentially, what you could have as an organization here is a customized application. So you could customize this entire left-hand menu. You can be able to customize the icon itself for the app and the colors, etc. Again, any type of words here on the left-hand side, this menu can be changed to fit your organization specifically. So what I'll run through here is just kind of the user experience, user interface here. Very simple to use. So what we're seeing here right now is a board sample agenda. And I'm just going to go ahead and tap right on that file. I'm going to bring up the content of the agenda itself. And what we have here is a fully customized HTML agenda that was built from the ARALOC from within the ARALOC publisher. And what we're able to do here is tie your fully encrypted content to a menu, I apologize, to a board agenda and or a meeting agenda for any type of meeting. The user has the ability to choose the location, date and time, speaker, notes, etc. And this gives the board member the ability to kind of run through the meeting, but also have that content immediately available that they're discussing and follow along. So you'll see these links here. Again, all of this is fully customizable as far as colors is concerned. The board administrator can customize that as they see fit. So as a user, I'm just going to tap on this document. I'm going to open it up. Okay, and so this is the PDF view of content here of the sample board meeting agenda. A little bit more additional notes here. But what I really want to show you here, again, from a demo perspective, is user interface, annotations, notes, viewing of content, those types of things. So what we're going to walk through here first is the annotations toolbox. And you'll find that on the left-hand side. You should see a small hand there with a couple lines below it and a trash can. And so the second one down I'm just going to jump to is the drawing options. So this gives the ability for the thickness and transparency of that line, the colors, etc. And you'll see a little preview there. So if I tap on the green color, it's going to give me that color. Then I can make my line a little bit larger, or transparency for highlighting. So once I choose that, I can just tap on the finger there, and then I can draw right on top of this document. I could make a handwritten note here if I wanted to, but we also have the type note feature here, which would allow users to really drill down and type as much as they want here through the keypad. So I can add these annotations and custom notes for each page within a document. So it's not just tied to the document itself. Each page has its own custom note and annotations to lay on top of it. If I wanted to clear that out, I just delete the annotation by tapping on the trash can. But my note's going to stay there as well. That's deleted from within here, from in this interface here. So there's two different options to delete content as you see fit. Bottom left, we move down there, that's a little bookmark option. Users can bookmark a page within the document or any number of pages in the document. So if they have a large document, that's a nice little feature there to take a bookmark on a specific page you may want to look back at once again. As we move to the right, we'll see icon of 2 people there, and these are the annotation sharing options. And so this goes back to the collaboration part of ARALOC. Essentially, I can take notes on this document and then share them with anyone within the organization. They can then have the ability to view them at their leisure. And so that's really nice from a collaboration perspective. You know, your notes and annotations and everything about this document are fully encapsulated inside of ARALOC, fully secure, and no risk of really any of that documentation or notes getting out there when we're talking about highly sensitive information. And so I can, again, share this with the whole group within my organization. I can share it then, if I wanted to, just with a specific individual as well. If you scroll down here, there's a list of users that have access to this content as well, and I'd be able to share with them independently of the group itself. So then they would be the only ones seeing that note and annotation. And if I tap on this icon here to the right of this dialog box on the bottom right, shared with you, if anyone within the organization had shared their annotations with me, this would give me the option to view those annotations here overlaid on top of this document. And then I could take my notes and share them back, really kind of bringing together that collaboration within the board and saving the back and forth of emails, which is unsecure. So we want to bring that into the application here, fully secured communications. Now, as we move to the right, this is basically the view that the user would see. And currently we're on a page scrolling view. If we tap on the button on the left, that's going to give a high-level page view, and that's just going to break the document out. Here, with only 4 pages, not that big a deal, but some documents could have 50 to 100 pages. This is a nice direct access to that bookmark page that you created earlier. So that's a quick rundown and overview of the user interface of the PDF documentation, how you can take notes, annotations, et cetera, basically build that collaborative team inside this app. Please take a step down here to updates. This is where those administration forced updates and automatic updates that are just built into the application can be accessed by the user. And so I published a piece of material this morning to have a signature placed onto it for this user. And you'll see here at the top that my signature was requested for that documentation. So now I know that I'm going to be able to have to go and view that content and sign off on it. But I also have announcements or notifications here when I'm given access to content or any type of announcement that may be pushed out by my board administrator, meeting change, etc. As we move down under board details, we have your board, and this is basically a board directory. Here's where we're going to access that direct communication line of instant messaging within the application. On the top side, we have group channels, and so this allows your entire group to come together and collaborate one-on-one or within the group and communicate with everyone on that team. So you could have 4 people chatting basically within this communication interface. And that's really nice from a team perspective, discussing documentation or whatever it may be. But then you can also, again, down here under users, you're going to be able to just directly communicate one-to-one with that user inside the application, conveniently for one. And the number one priority here is the security of this communication. Being able to control that communication within the application, knowing that it's 100% secured and not outside in an SMS text message or in an email where the risk of that being forwarded or shared with anyone else is high. So we're going to mitigate the risk of any leakage of communications regarding confidential materials. As we go down here on the left-hand side, we'll have all materials. So this is basically the group structure within this organization. You'll see that as a demonstration account, I have access to all of these groups. But from a user's perspective, typically they'd only have access to a few of these groups within the organization. And so depending upon that access level, they would only see the groups that they have access to. A lot of portal systems you'll see out there. A user member of the organization will see every folder that's available to them, or should I say available within the organization that they don't have access to. And that's going to cause some confusion. They may make a phone call to say, hey, I know I wanted to access this, but I can't, I see it, but I can't access it, et cetera, tying up that administrator. That's not the case here. You're only going to see the folders that you have access to. And then also from a privacy perspective, you may have a confidential folder within your organization that you only want certain people to see and don't want others to even know about. So we're tying that down here with those access levels. We touched on archived materials, and what you see here is just some archived content that you can pull out while still giving users, board members, access to that content. And that's basically access the same way that we access content through any of the other groups. As we move down here, we have the e-signatures feature. You'll see we have quite a few documents in here that we've already signed off on through our demonstration, but we have one for today, November 2018 board materials. And so basically the workflow here is that you have the attestation text, and you can have any custom text here that you'd like as far as whatever this signature is pertaining to, that you agree, maybe strictly just that you've reviewed the material, etc. And the administrator can add that as they see fit. So the basic workflow is I'm going to go ahead and review the content, take a look at that, load it up, and then I can say that I've reviewed the content. And now, as we mentioned before, we are auditing how long users are viewing it. So if you have someone that signed off on something and you see that they viewed it for a second, you know that they probably didn't really look at it, and you can go back and audit that table. So that's pretty nice. But we can go ahead and enter our password here. Go ahead and submit that signature successfully, and we'll go back and you'll see here at the top that that was signed. And so from a user's perspective, I know what date and time I signed off on that. Again, if there is a new version presented, I would be prompted to sign off on that once more. And this is all being recorded on the backend management console for the administrator, being able to audit that documentation on when users have signed off on content, given their approval, etc. When we come down to on the left-hand side of the committee materials, these are just direct links to those specific groups within the organization and their content. And this is part of that customization availability for the enterprise level solution, essentially being able to customize these menu items for better user experience, better user flow for the app itself. So these three groups here just directly link to those content materials for an ease of use. Down below in the activity section, we have syncing. So this is going to sync any content in the background while the user is actually still using the application, so bringing down all the content that they have access to. And so, sometimes you may have large files, video files that are taking up a lot of storage on the device itself. And we all know that we're running up against storage limitations physically on the device itself. So what's nice about ARALOC is users have the ability to control that content on their application from a access perspective. And so say if I had a very large video file here, I would just tap down on it. If I had viewed it already, but I wanted to free up that space, I could just go ahead and remove that content from my local device. This isn't removing my access to the content. If I wanted to view it again, I just simply tap on it. It's going to queue it up and download it, and then bring it back down onto the device itself. So users do have the ability to manage storage on their own devices. We don't want ARALOC to be tying up all of their storage and making it that an issue for them. So we've built that into the application here to let them manage that on their own. As we go down, we get a recently viewed, and this is simple, recently viewed content, just quick access to whatever content we just viewed. And under the account feature, the users have the ability to lock their account. Essentially, if they were to hand over a tablet or phone to someone else, they wouldn't want those materials to be accessed by that user. They can go ahead and lock that account out immediately right from here, requiring the re-entry of that password immediately. Profile, so they have the ability to add their title, work phone, and email. And then stack. So a little bit about the application, how much content they have access to, the groups, etc. And then as we talked about that storage, is how much storage the application itself is actually using. This is also where the user would remove their account or sign out of the device completely. So that's a quick rundown of the experience inside the iOS application. The other applications are very similar here as well, but ARALOC is all about securing your content while being able to deliver it to your team, whether inside or outside of your organization, not just your board, could be any number of staff members in a distributed workforce, and getting that content out to them timely, updated, etc., all secured inside one application on any device that they choose. At this time, we're willing to take any questions that we have from anybody on the call. And those questions can be added inside the chat window here on the meeting invite, the meeting interface. Looks like at this time we don't have any questions, but if you do have questions at a later date, you can email us at info@data443.com. We'll be happy to follow up with you and provide any answers you may have, or provide answers to any questions you may have. And we just thank you today for joining us here on the ARALOC webinar, and look forward to speaking with you further. Thank you so much.